Welcome to episode 20 of our weekly chat with the grocery guru that is Andrew Grant. Andrew, how are you?
Morning, Darren. Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Good,
very good.
Okay, so in this week's 10-minute chat with the grocery guru, we're going to talk about Morrisons' preliminary results because they're the first after COVID. Is that right?
Yeah, the first major retailer to put out, full-blown annual results post-COVID, January the 31st end. Obviously, you've got Tesco and Sainsbury's following in the next few weeks.
Right, okay. And the general picture, good, bad, what did you
well, it's fascinating, actually, because the headlines, I think, in the press yesterday were, the share price dropped significantly because I think the city suddenly realised the sheer cost of this pandemic to the supermarkets.
Yeah.
So on the face of it, they've done, really well. And, the chief exec was praising how well the business had done. And they have done a phenomenal job, if you think about it, all the supermarkets feeding the country.
Yes.
With a little issue of Brexit in the middle. So yeah, the like-for-like sales, the standard industry measure of sales performance up 8.6%. I mean, that would be, supermarkets would have given their right and left arms for that 2 years ago. And
in comparison, 8.6, but 2019 on the previous year was down 0.8%. So it's really sort of a 10-point stretch. Yeah, you're right. Would have given their arms and legs.
But then their profits down 50.7%.
Yes.
Was it 290 million spent on COVID costs, restructuring, PPE, additional staff, additional vans and online delivery, and then 230 million of business rates that they handed back to the government, so they carried on paying. So what's that? 520 million they could have made if it hadn't been for COVID. They made 400 million last year, and it's cost them 500 million. So it's cost them a year's profits to survive COVID.
And that's a good takeaway, isn't it? A year's profits to survive COVID, because all of us look at industries like hospitality and think, well, they're wiped out, they're struggling, it's going to be hard to come back. The supermarkets are doing really, really well, but they're not.
But it's this, think about it, it's this spike effect, isn't it? So the supermarkets have had this big 10% spike, plus a massive spike in costs, and they're driving at the moment headlong into that. I think I'd rather be a pub chain where all of a sudden when I open up in May, I'll be 300% up on the year. with the figures look fantastic.
Well, that's very true. I guess pubs, maybe don't look as hard and as fast as people like you and I and account managers out there year on year. But if they are, you're right, they're going to be up hugely. I noticed some other things like 300 McColl stores to be converted to Morrisons daily over the next 3 years.
Yeah. So
and the contract with McColl signed to extend the partnership to 2027. So there's some good news in there.
Well, yeah, becoming big inconvenience. Yeah, absolutely. But one thing that got me, and whether I've done these, because I'm not a city analyst. I wish I was. But net profitability. The argument's always gone that the supermarkets in the UK are incredibly efficient because basically their net profitability is 2% on average. So 2p in the pound is all they make from all the work they do. And Tesco always lauded, back in the day that they got over 5 pence in the pound profit. And Dave Lewis left on a massive high last year, getting it back to 4.2, I think.
4.2, okay.
So Morrisons last year were bang on the average, 1.98% margin.
Right. Okay.
Net margin. What do you think it was last year when you do the sums?
Don't know. Go on, tell me.
Just over a half. 5.5p in the pound profit for everything they did. That is a lot of hard work, effort, and energy for half a p in the pound.
That is not a lot, is it? It sort of reminds me of Thomas Cook. You look at big companies like that who are billions, but actually, do they make money?
Yeah. So, it is quite interesting. We spoke last week about Amazon Fresh opening and how if they want to expand quickly, do they just take out over all the disused Top Shops and Dorothy Perkins littering the high streets, or do they buy a ready-made retailer? Now, Morrison's operating profit, 254 million. I don't know what multiples supermarkets sell on, but say Amazon had to pay 10 times that, 2.5 billion, they're worth a couple of trillion.
Yeah.
So it is small change for Amazon just to sort of say, oh, let's buy Morrisons.
Well, it's very true, and then they could dominate the market very, very quickly and take a share, 10% share overnight. Very true.
Well, the fact that Morrison's share price dived so dramatically yesterday would say that Amazon isn't on the city radar. Otherwise, it would have gone up.
Very true. Very true.
So I think the takeout of all of that for Morrison's and for the other, because obviously, as I said, Tesco, Sainsbury's, and the others will be publishing in the next 4 weeks, and I'm sure it will be a similar story. Is they are driving headlong into some pretty horrific comparables.
Yeah.
They won't get the same sales growth this year because people will go back to restaurants and pubs.
Yep.
So a huge chunk of their food and particularly the drink business will go back to normal. So big like-for-like declines there, but this continuing cost base, because they're still going to have to, online deliveries have changed forever. So the extra cost of vans and people driving them and picking is still going to be there.
Well, and coming back to your point a moment ago about hospitality, there's an argument that because we've all been locked down for nearly a year, maybe we'll go out more. What was once a week treat a pub might be twice a week.
Yeah, and will all 60 million of us end up in Benidorm because we're desperate to get a foreign holiday? Wow. Maybe the country will be empty in August.
It could be. Birdseye used to say it's about share of stomach. Right. So are we going to have 2 pub meals a week, and therefore we're not buying as many groceries? So what was 89% growth is going to go down even further.
Yeah, no. So some big sales challenges, but then the costs. How do they get those costs under control? Because they've still got to pay the van drivers. They've still got to pay the in-store pickers. There's still going to be, distancing restrictions. They're still going to have to keep investing in all the plexiglass and the masks and hand sanitizers, you would imagine. So, where do they control their costs against falling sales to deliver any sort of profit? Only 2 ways. You cut your costs dramatically, and all of them have just announced in the last few weeks head office and store management restructurings.
Yep.
And then obviously, Sainsbury's in the last couple of weeks, we're going to price match Aldi, and a very nicely worded letter to suppliers saying, please help us on our journey to deliver better value for our shoppers, which in your language and my language is give us some cost reductions.
And also the other part is Morrisons very admirably are the first to pay a minimum £10 to all their staff.
Yeah.
So that's got to come from somewhere as well, which is all very admirable, but this is on top of costs that are ramping out of control.
Yeah. So you can imagine that, the suppliers, many of them have been reeling over the last year. Some categories have done very, very well. As we know, the comfort food area has done very, very well, but obviously they'll have increased costs. And then I think they're going to get the supermarkets coming with requests.
Well, we won't touch on G-Scoping this. I'm just going to bring out one other thing. So we're talking about the news release preliminary results for the 52 weeks ending 31st of January 2021 for Morrisons. And one of the things I noticed, Andrew, was online sales tripled during the year with capacity up 5-fold. Not a surprise, but quite stark to read that. Morrisons on Amazon is available in 50 towns and cities and already accounts for more than 10% of sales in the majority of stores.
I saw that. That is quite interesting. Yeah.
That is getting closer and closer, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Piece about carbon neutral with the British farming supply chain. And then one other bit I noticed was they've extended 10% discount for all NHS staff for the whole of 2021.
Yeah.
Again, another cost, very admirable.
And as I was told yesterday, I haven't seen it, but they're doing £10 afternoon Mother's Day teas.
Oh, okay.
So one of these meal deals where I think for 10 quid you get some nice little triangular sandwiches, some cakes, some clotted cream, all put together for 10 quid to take round to your mum's or to leave on mum's doorstep, probably. Can't remember quite what the rules are anymore, for Mother's Day.
Oh, okay. Well, seeing as it's 2 days to Mother's Day, I better go and try and book one.
Yeah, yeah. Go and get yourself a Morrison's Mother's Day cream tea, leave it on your mum's step, ring the bell and step back 2 meters.
All right, Andrew, before we go, what's the one takeaway you want us, the people that are listening, watching, to take from this?
I think it's going to be every year's a tough year. Last year's been tough. In terms of, the supermarket trade, it's going to be as tough as it ever was for different reasons.
Yeah, very true. Very true. All right, Andrew, Grocery Guru, thank you very much. We'll talk with you again next week.
Okay, take care.
Take care. Bye. Bye.